Back on track, and for this new episode we are going to take a look at the law of Piltover&Zaun, which are actually only one, just two different facets of the cities. So to start with, I'm simply going to read a quick description. So Piltover, also known as the city of progress. Progressive city with power and influence is on the rise. It is Valorian's cultural center where art, craftsmanship, trade and innovation walk hand in hand. Its power comes not through military might, but the engines of commerce and forward thinking. Situated on the cliffs above the district of Zaun and overlooking the ocean, fleets of ships pass through its titanic sea gates, bringing goods from all over the world. The wealth this generates has given rise to an unprecedented boom in the city growth. Piltover has, and still is, reinventing itself as a city where fortunes can be made and dreams can be lived. Burgeoning merchant clans fund development in the most incredible endeavors, grand artistic follies, esoteric hextech research, and architectural monuments to their power, with ever more inventors delving into the emergent lore of hextech. Piltover has become a lodestone for the most skilled craftsmen the world over. Okay, so just with this first statement, we're already going to delve really deep, and I'm not even trying, guys. You know, you might think I'm trying to like nitpick and try to find things, but all I'm doing is reading this and with a critical mind asking some simple questions. Instead of seeing it as just a story, I'm just seeing it as like a statement, and let's compare that with other things we know about the world. Okay, so Piltover, to me, what jumped straight to me was that Piltover is pretty much gotta be America, or a city in America, and this is very clear because of many things. So progress, you see there's a lot of development happening. This is definitely America, especially at its beginning. You know, America was booming, it was expanding, they had a lot of commerce going there, and forward thinking compared to Europe, who was very rigid, very static. You know, they did not have the same movement happening in Europe. As well, this very specific sentence which talks about reinventing itself as a city where fortunes can be made and dreams can be lived. The American dream, right? Whether it's conscious or unconscious, this is clearly a reference to that. As well, the place where all the most skilled craftsmen of the world will go. This is America too, you know, again in Europe and other countries where, whether it's because they were more rigid, you know, in Europe they had all these traditions of the artisans, and you know, they had to go through a certain process that did not have as much freedom to try things and start businesses and all this. So usually America was a land of opportunity. You could move there and try to do something big or something new, and a lot of people have succeeded like this. You know, there's a piano maker moved over there and he became the biggest piano maker in the world because he's done that move. So anyways, that's the first thing that jumped to my mind. You know, there's a parallel with America as a whole, or at least a place in America. Now, the second thing that jumped to my mind is these two words, esoteric hextech. Now this is pretty heavy. I know it doesn't seem like much, and maybe you might think it's only, oh yes, they're just kind of making something up, but this is not true. Esoteric hextech research. Okay, so first thing first, esoteric, I mean this is a word. Let's go and check the definition quickly. This is a word which is obviously, again, very spiritual, intended for or understood by only a small group, whether it's arcane, occult, whatever word you use, it's always the same thing. It's supposedly only understood by a small group for good reason. It's kept hidden, it's not openly, although nowadays it is a bit different. It's not openly displayed over there. Hey, look, we believe in human sacrifice and all these things. Now they keep all this very hidden to only a small amount of people, and they carefully, desensitize and they carefully indoctrinate. And then once they're sure they are not going to arc up at those kind of super vile ideas and rituals, then they will share that kind of knowledge. So anyway, intended for or understood by only a small group, especially one with specialized knowledge or interest, not known by or suitable for the public, private. Again, this is just another word for the occult. We can check another definition quickly. Esoteric, only taught to, understood by members of a special group, like the Freemasons or most of the occult group. Okay, so with this out of the way, let's come back to the next point. Hextech. So exoteric, we know it's talking about the occult. Hex, what is a hex? Again, just looking at the meaning of the words reveals so much. A hex is actually referring to a curse. First definition, as a noun, an evil spell, a curse. Okay, so what is hextech is what the Nazis have been doing. It's mixing the occult and witchcraft and using evil spirits and science and technology hand in hand. This is pretty much as well what the new age is trying to bring about. I mean, they're not even hiding it, guys, like hex and tech, curse or magic, witchcraft and technology. This is right there, and they added the word esoteric. I mean, do you still have any doubt after that? What do they need to say? Witchcraft, they need to put this kind of word in there. Even if they put it at this stage, if you refuse to accept this as what it is, you will still not believe it, whatever word they use, right? So research in the science and witchcraft and technology all mixed together, and doing some research into that. So this city is known for that. Okay, so let's keep that in mind for later. The people which have been very known for that were, of course, the Nazis. Most people ignore that. They've been told in school, oh yeah, the Nazis were just these bad people and they just went a little bit crazy, and they torture some people and bad people, but that's a little bit surface understanding there. The Nazis were actually deep into Satanism and the occult. Nazism was officially non-religious, so it's just like today, right? Most of these people, the elites, the governments and all this, they all say, no, we're non-religious, we're atheist. But in the back alleys and in the hidden churches, in the weekend, they have their dark rituals and their religious ceremonies. They're just hidden from the public. So officially we're atheist, but behind closed doors we're Satanist or we're occultist. And it was the same with those people. They're liars. They will tell you one story and then the reality will be totally different. So Nazism was officially non-religious, and there may have been more truth to it than meets the eyes. The Nazis were obsessed with esoteric beliefs. Okay, this is undeniable, guys. Especially the occult. Some historians have been suggested that the occult formed the foundation of the Nazi movement. So they were not just meddling with it here and there and trying to gain some power. No, this was the basis of the movement, right? Both during the era of the Third Reich and in the time since, people have had a lot to say about Hitler and his associate dabbling in occult practices. Nazi symbology is replete with images and symbols from Eastern religions. For example, of course, the most obvious one is the swastika, right? So the Nazi cross. This is one of the most occult symbol. It represents the black sun, occult to the core. It has been in the occult since thousands of years, and it's a reoccurring symbol who comes up over and over and over again in different occult practices through time. This one is juicy. One of the top Nazi officials was Heinrich Himmler, the man in charge of the dreaded SS. And these two S are actually a rune, right? Believe it or not, but you see this one, Well, the SS was not written with a curved S, it was like this lightning bolt S, and this is satanic because it represents Satan falling down from heaven. There's a verse in the Bible which says, "And I beheld Satan and his angels, and they were cast out of heaven as with a bolt of lightning." So this is a reference to Lucifer, and of course his SS were having two of these runes there, runes which are deeply occultic symbol. He followed the paganism of pre-Christian Germany, something that was strongly associated with the German nationalism of the Nazi regime, and actively involved with black magic. Yes. Okay, I'm not making that stuff up. I'm not trying to make theories. This is facts. You have to understand that. You have to stop denying the obvious and refusing knowledge. This is why you are ignorant about those things. If you still are ignorant and you're listening to this right now and you're still not sure, if you are ignorant about those things, it is not because of the facts, it is because you refuse to acknowledge the truth. This is willful ignorance. He tried to practice necromancy, okay, the magical art of raising people from the dead, and there's more to that, and frequently held seance to try to contact the dead. The center of his occultic life was a place called Wewelsburg Castle in the Black Forest of northern Germany. Here, he and many other Nazi officials engaged in their occult practices. So I mean, guys, mind blown, right? So I'll stop here for now because that was my point. Hex tech, Nazis were very known to all the horrible experiments they've been doing. Right? They were very scientific in a way, if we can say, where they were doing experiments on people, trying to find drugs. They are the one who actually started very actively this psychological warfare. So brainwashing, propaganda, all that kind of things. They are the one who mastered that and pushed that and optimized this to the maximum. Zaun, also known as the city of iron and glass, is a large undercity district lying in the deep canyons and valley threading Piltover. What light reaches below is filtered through fumes leaking from the tangles of corroded pipeworks and reflected from the stained glass of its industrial architecture. Zaun and Piltover were once united, but are now separated, yet symbiotic societies. Though it exists in perpetual, smogged twilight, Zaun thrives, its people vibrant and its culture rich. Piltover's wealth has allowed Zaun to develop in tandem, a dark mirror of the city above. Many of the goods coming to Piltover found their way into Zaun's black markets, and Hextech inventors who found a restriction placed upon them in the city above too restrictive often find that dangerous researches welcomed in Zaun. Now keep that in mind. Unfettered development of volatile technologies and reckless industry has rendered whole stretches of Zaun polluted and dangerous. Streams of toxic runoff stagnate in the city lower reaches, but even here people find a way to exist and prosper. So obviously Zaun refers to this kind of idea of an industrial, low socio-economic class, probably where you have most of the working class, which is not as white collar, but more so the people working in factories, this kind of thing. It kind of reminds of a picture of old London, or now one of the third world countries. Now there's not as much interesting details about Zaun. I think Zaun, they just added that up on top of Piltover to make it a little bit more interesting and have this kind of two city, and as well because I wanted all these characters which are more like poison, garbage kind of thing. So I think they kind of added that thing, but they haven't worked the lore nowhere near as much than Piltover. But it's still, they're kind of one and the same, as I said, and they actually do are one and the same. So I'm just gonna move on straight away to the interesting bits, okay? So if you go all the way down the bottom, you see that here in the little general details, there's a few interesting bits there, but not really. What is really interesting, much of the city's inspiration is by the city of Chicago because of the criminal underworld and its violence past history. And now if we come back to Piltover and we scroll down the bottom again, we're going to see that Piltover is as well, other video games is as well part of Chicago. It is Chicago, both Piltover and Zaun. They just represent a different facet of Chicago. Other video game cities that share the same fantasy genre and similar design of Piltover are Columbia, in which is from the BioShock series. The city is a huge inspiration of 1893 Chicago with its architecture, texture, and its connection with its underworld history. I guess Chicago. So I had a big hunch, okay? When I read that, I had a huge hunch, and I was like, I bet you Chicago was a huge city in the occult.